René, you would like me to start?
Yes, we start straight with Matovu, yes.
Matovu, Matovu, Matovu Alecha Yaakov, Mishknotecha Yisrael, Mishknotecha Yisrael, Vani Barov Chastecha Avo Betecha Eshtachave, Eshtachave El Hechal Kodshecha Ba'iratecha El Hechal Kodshecha Ba'iratecha. Through your great love, O God, I enter your house. With awe I worship in your sanctuary. Eternal God, I love the house where your glory dwells. Humbly I worship before my God and Maker. Vani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzon, Elohim, Elohim, B'rov chasdecha, Eneni b'emet, Eneni b'emet, Ishecha. We thank you, O God, for this new day, for morning sun and evening star, for flowering of tree and flowing of thyme, for life-giving rains and cooling breezes, for the changing seasons, for the cycle of growth and decay, of life and death. We awake and behold a new day. O God, renew us unto life. Teach us to recognize your presence in creation. Grateful for your gifts, may we dedicate all our powers to your service. And at the top of page 118.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Kelel. Shabbat Shalom to all of you who are watching us on Facebook, Zoom, Zoom, and Twitter and YouTube. So today is a very special Shabbat because we are joined from Australia by Meira, who is having her admission ceremony today. So Shabbat Shalom, Meira. I know that for you it's almost Motzei Shabbat, but it's fine. It's 8:20 in Sydney. So it's good to have you with us tonight for you, and this morning for us. And it's also my pleasure to have with us today Rebekka Wedell, who is playing the music, who is leading the service with me. And Shabbat Shalom to you all. We're on page 118.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach irim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol zoki.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten le'ayav koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המעביר שיני מעיני ותנומה מעפעפיי.
Amen. On page 119. ברוך שאמר והיה העולם, ברוך הוא. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המהולל בפי עמו, משובר ומפואר בלשון חסידיו ועבדיו, בשבחות ובזמירות נגדלך ונמלירך, מלכנו יחיד העולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מהולל בתשבחות. With the coming of day and night, I will enter the covenant of God. And when evening and morning depart, I will recite God's decrees. God's Most High, you are my righteousness. You teach me goodness. You are the fountain of knowledge, the dwelling place of holiness, and the summit of glory. Eternal might and majesty are yours. I will choose whatever you teach me, gladly accepting your judgment. As soon as I move my hands and feet, I will praise your name. When I go out and when I come in, when I lie down and when I rise up, when I rest on my bed, I will sing your praise. And in the company of my friends, I will praise you with the words of my mouth.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי בניו, לנבל, עלי היגיון בחינו, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. צדיק אתה מה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד, כי ישר אדוני, צורי, ולא עוולת בו.
So Yishtabar is on page 135, Yishtabar 135. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאי אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שירו שבחה, הלל וזמחה, ברכות והודעות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בשירי זמרה.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
We're on page 136. 136. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign of the universe, maker of light and creator of darkness, author of peace and creator of all things. In your mercy, you give light to the earth and all who live on it. And in your goodness, you renew creation continually day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. Great, we praise you, O God, Creator of light. Ahava Rabba Haftanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gdola V'teracham Alta Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, בעבור אבותינו שבטחו בך, ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו תלמדנו, ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד ולשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תורתך באהבה. וערר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ולאיכה את שמך, כיוון ובחרת לירדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשורבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, עד שהוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet. You know what we usually do on this, not usually, but sometimes we did that. The blessing after the Shema is a blessing of gratitude, of Hakarat HaTov. And we did this exercise several times to ask you, what are you grateful for? what makes you happy today. And even if life is a bit, let's say, somber, there are still reasons, there are still occasions to be grateful for. So those who are online on the Facebook comment section, please write your comments, and those who are on the Zoom call, if you want to just unmute yourself and say a few words. So Meira wrote, careless friends across the globe. Yeah, indeed, that's true. Rebekka, you want to say something? Yes.
I was just agreeing with Meira, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, while I'm here, my garden, the sun, and my cats, one of which is here, look. And Louise just got here, so I'm going to go there.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, Leo, grateful for you all, and we're grateful that you are with us today. Sarah, I have a privilege to be able to share the time with family in the sunshine. And Dominic has been able to see her youngest grandson, nearly 2 now. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm glad that when I went to pick up my prescription early this morning, they had all the tablets that I needed for a change, which made me quite happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sibyl, yeah, grateful for friendship, the beauty of nature and being alive. I guess, Meira, in Australia, it's probably less green than in Britain. How is it? What's the weather like now?
It's winter here, so it's raining quite a bit, but I can't tell you exactly because I haven't been out of quarantine yet. When I get out of quarantine, I can answer your question properly.
Wow.
I think it's still pretty green because it's wet and it's winter.
It's winter, of course. It's winter. Yes, yeah. Okay, we're on page 139. Mi kamocha. Rebekka, do you want to? Yeah.
Mi kamocha be'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, noah tehilot osef eleh.
שירה חדשה, שיברו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו.
Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. So Yisrael, Tuma b'shrat Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai, Tzvaot shamo, Gal kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael, Gal Yisrael. Amen. On the top of page 140. Adonai. Yalalalala sefatai tiftach. Yananana ufi agid tahilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מצליח השמש ומוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך. מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. We sanctify your name on earth, as in the prophet's vision, the hosts of heaven sing your praise above. For so it is written, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavaot, Malok kol haaretz, Kavodo. Kavod male olam. Baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo. From your concealment, majestic one, reveal yourself and rule over us, for you are our hope. Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohayich Tzion, ledovado. Alleluia. Ledovado, 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 nagid gad lecha, ulenetzach netzachim. ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. לדובדו, לדובדו, לדובדו נגיד גד לך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. From generation to generation, we will make known your greatness. To the end of time, we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el HaKadosh.
On page 142. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. המקדשי שביעי, המקדשי שביעי, כולם יספרו וינתנגו מטובך. והשביעי, והשביעי, רצית בו וקידשתו. חמדת ימים, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת זכר למעשה וראשית. Our God and God of ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel, who hallow your name, be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh le'odot. We praise your God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, v'rachamim. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Aleinu, aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Amecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha.
As the loving parent, bless us with the light of your presence, for by the light of your presence, eternal God, you have revealed to us the law of life, the love of kindness and righteousness, blessing and mercy, life and peace. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. Baruch atah Adonai Yoseh HaShalom. Blessed are you, eternal God, who creates peace. And we take a few moments now for private prayer meditation.
יהיו לרצון עם רפי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
Say shalom, Pirov, say shalom, Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'kol b'nei Adam.
Thank you, Rebekka. Thank you, the choir. Okay. So now it's the next step in our Shabbat morning service is the Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service of reading from the scroll. And you will find in your prayer books on page 481, and Craig will also put it on the screen. So if you don't have a prayer book with you, you can follow it with us on the screen. It's also the occasion for us to welcome a new member of our community and of the Jewish people, which is usually done at that time. So you will have to imagine Meira, a virtual Torah scroll that will be passed to you, because obviously, we haven't invented yet the crossing the distance like this, like in Star Trek, that you go in a place and then you can go to another place immediately. That would be great, but we are not there yet. So we have to play with our imagination and make it happen this way. What matters actually in Judaism is a lot of things about kavanah, about the intention, what we put in our acts. That's very important. Yeah. So page 481, over to you, Rebekka.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadolou l'Adonai iti uneromema Shemo yachtav.
על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות החסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות החסדים. על שלושה דברים, יאי די די די, יאי די 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 די. Yai da da da, yai da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da.
Thank you. So before I call Meira for a first Aliyah la Torah, I just wanted to say a few words about the passage I'm going to lay in for you today. So we are in the book of Numbers. We are in the chapter 13 of the book of Numbers, and it's called Parasha Shlach Lecha, and it's a very important. I say this every Shabbat. It's an important parasha because we learn in this parasha why the children of Israel had to stay 40 days in the desert. And I will talk to you about this later on my Dvar Torah, the question of complain and how the Israelites were very unhappy in the desert. But what happens there is what's called in the Jewish tradition the 12 spies. So God asked Moses to send one man per tribe to Latur in Hebrew, Latur et Eretz Canaan, to scout the land and to have a look, to see. And the text is very precise. So it's what the Torah says. See what kind of country it is. Are the people who dwell in it strong or weak, few or many? Is the country in which they dwell good or bad? Are the towns they lived in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor? Is it wooded or not? And take pains to bring back some of the fruit of the land. So that's Moses' command, if you want, to these 12 scouts. And then we have a list of these 12 people who went up to the land of Canaan at that time, and they go there. And this is what I'm going to read now for you. They went up and scouted the land from the wilderness of Tzin to Rehov at Levo Hamat. They went up into the Negev and came to Hebron, where lived Achiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the Anakites. And you have to understand the Anakites were giants, and of course you can understand why they were scared. Now Hebron was founded 7 years before Zoan of Egypt. So it, in a way, it emphasizes the antiquity of the establishment in the land of Israel, which is confirmed by archaeology, actually. Jericho is probably one of the oldest cities in the world, at least in our part of the world. They reached the Wadi Eshkol, Nachal Eshkol, and there they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes. It had to be borne on carrying frame by 2 of them, because it was so heavy and bountiful, and some pomegranates and figs. That place was named the Wadi Eshkol, because of a cluster in Hebrew is called Eshkol, that the Israelites cut down there. At the end of 40 days, they returned from scouting the land. They went straight to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran, and they made their report to them and to the whole community as they showed them the fruit of the land. This is what they told the people, Moses and the people. We came to the land you sent us to. It does indeed flow with milk and honey. Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash is a usual expression to talk about the land of Canaan. However, the people who inhabit the country are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the Anakites there. Amalekites dwell in the Negev region. Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites inhabit the hill country, and Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan. Caleb, who was one of the 12 scouts, hushed the people before Moses and said, "Let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it." But the men who had not gone up with him said, "We cannot attack that people, for it is stronger than us." Thus they spread calumnies among the Israelites, etc. So what happens eventually is that 10 out of the 12 gave such a bad report that the entire people was really destroyed, and they didn't want to do it. And of course, they broke into loud cries. The people wept, and what happened? They railed against Moses and Aaron, who then turned to God. And God, of course, God in the book of Numbers is not a kind God. He's quite an angry God all the time. And then he said to them, where is it exactly? So basically, it tells them off. Okay, so I can't find exactly the verse, but basically he said to this generation, you won't be allowed to enter the land of Canaan because you haven't trusted me. So again, and I will talk to you about this structure of rebellion, complaints, and how the dynamic between Moses and the people, between Moses and God, and between God and the people is there's a repetition of the pattern here. Complaint leads to Moses being completely powerless. When he goes to God, then God punishes the people, and it's a kind of a repetition of a very bad dynamic. And I will contest it later, Madvar Torah. But this is why this episode in the life of the people of Israel in the wilderness explains why this generation had to wander 40 years into the desert before being allowed. And it's not them who will be allowed to enter the land of Canaan. It's the next generation, people born in the desert, led by the two men who gave good report. We heard about Caleb and also Joshua. And in the meantime, Joshua gains a new name. In the Bible, it's so important. So his name was Hoshea, which comes from the root to save in the past form. And he will be called Yehoshua, Joshua, which becomes a future tense for the same root. So there's also tensions towards the future. Joshua is the one we're supposed to come after Moses. So it's now my great honor, privilege, pleasure to call Meira for the Aliyah LaTorah. תעמוד לקרוא בתורה מאירה, בת אברהם ושרה. Do you have a blessing with you?
Yes.
Okay, so unmute yourself.
Okay. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
אמן. ויעלו ויתורו את הארץ, ממדבר צין עד רחוב לבוא לבה. ויעלו בנגב, ויבוא עד חברון, ושם אחימן ששי ותלמי, ילידי הענק, וחברון 7 שנים נבנתה לפני צוהן מצרים. ויבואו עד נחל אשכול, ויחתו משם זמורה, ואשכול הנביאים אחד, וייסעו ומות בשניים, ומן הרימונים ומן התאנים, למקום ההוא קרא נחל אשכול, על אודות האשכול, אשר כרתו משם בני ישראל, וישובו מתוך הארץ מקץ 40 יום, וילכו ויבואו אל משה ואל אהרון ואל כל עדת בני ישראל אל מדבר פרן קדשה. וישיבו אותם דבר ואת כל העדה, ויחום את פרי הארץ. ויספחו לו, ויאמרו, באנו אל הארץ אשר שלחתנו, וגם זבת חלב ודבש, היא וזה פריים. אפס כי הזעם היושב בארץ, והערים בצורות גדולות מאוד, וגם ילידי הענק ראינו שם. עמלק יושב בארץ הנגב, והחיתי, והיבוסי והאמורי יושב בהר, והכנעני יושב על הים ועל יד הירדן. וירס כלב אל העם אל משה, ויאמר הלא נעלה וירשנו אותה, כי יכול נחול לה. והאנשים אשר עלו עמו אמרו, לא נוכל לעלות אל העם, כי חזק הוא ממנו. מאירה.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen. So we turn now to page 593. So you have to imagine that we have a Torah scroll, and that Meira is sweating with a Torah scroll in her hands while we're talking and wondering why does it take so long. So now you can actually enjoy the words without having to worry about the weight of a scroll. Page 593. As for the strangers who join themselves to the Eternal One, who choose to serve the God of Israel in love, all who keep the Sabbath and do not profane it, and hold fast to my covenant, I will bring them to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples. And this is a passage from Prophet Isaiah. Barucha abaa b'shem Adonai, berachnunechem mibeit Adonai. Blessed be you, Meira, who come in the name of God. Here in God's house, may you be blessed. Now, I have a few questions that you have to answer truthfully and with all your heart before the entire community. So I've got, I don't know, about 20 people online and 15 people on the screen. So they're all here acting as witnesses to your commitment to the Jewish faith. Meira, do you sincerely affirm the Jewish faith?
Yes, I do.
Do you, of your own will, on your own free will choose to enter the eternal covenant between the God of Israel and the house of Israel?
I do. Yes.
Do you pledge your loyalty to the Jewish faith and the Jewish people in all circumstances?
Yes.
Do you promise to the best of your ability to practice Judaism in your personal life and to participate actively in the life of the Jewish community?
I definitely do. Yes.
Whether it's Kingston or Sydney or,
Yeah.
it's community. Yeah.
It is.
If you should be blessed with children, do you promise to raise them as Jews?
I do, yes.
So a scroll is taken out of the ark, of course. Now you can imagine having a scroll with you. And it's on page 594, and it's for you to say the coming words.
Okay. I solemnly declare before God that I will strive to carry out faithfully the duties and responsibilities which have now been placed upon me as a Jew. I pray for strength so to honor my commitment, that I may bring credit to the Jewish people, blessing to humanity, and glory to God's name. To all those present who represent the house of Israel, I say, your people should be my people, and your God my God. Shall I carry on?
Yes, please.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levevecha, uvechol nefshecha, uvechol meodecha.
Achoteinu at, you are our sister. And I wanted to share with you the certificate which we have signed. So it's so Meira went to the Beit Din. Where is it now? Okay, let me find it. So Meira went to the Beit Din, I think already back in March, if I remember. Huh?
Yeah, I think it was the 9th of March.
The 9th of March. Okay, where is it? Okay, good, it's here. And so, of course, because of many reasons, we're not able to do the ceremony before. I wanted to share with you the certificate, and also for those of you who are online, so it's a chance for you to see how it goes. And for those who are in the process of joining our community, it shows you exactly what's going to happen to you. So, so that's part 2. Yes. So first part, on Tuesday, the 9th day of the month of March, the year 2021, here in London, there appeared before us. I'm going to just hide the address. So Claire Meira Lilla, and told her of a wish to join the Jewish community. We made inquiries about her and questioned her and found her worthy to be accepted as a true proselyte among us, both by virtue of her sincerity and by virtue of her knowledge and of our faith and way of life. So you had with you on this day Rabbi Margaret Jacobi from Birmingham, Rabbi, who was it? Gosh, I can't see. I think it was Mark Solomon.
No, it wasn't. It was, I can't remember the lady's name.
Gosh, I can't read. Oh gosh.
No.
Yochebed Bat Yitzchak. It was a female rabbi, yeah?
Yeah.
Who is Yochebed Bat Yitzchak? Oh gosh, I don't remember now. Okay, I'll find out for you. And Rabbi Yuval Keren from Southgate. So the three of them signed, and we've got this very nice temple from Liberal Judaism. We can't see much, but it says Liberal Judaism. Mm-hmm. And today, okay, I'm gonna. So, B'Yom Shabbat Shlach Lecha Kaf Hei Lechodesh Sivan, on the 5th day of the month of June, Shnat Chameshet Alafim Ushva Meot Ushmonim Ve'echad, in the year 5781. Paul Be Kingston, I didn't know how to spell it, so I used that. Here in Kingston, there came Claire Meira Lilla. Ve'amra lanu, and she said to us, Imachem ami, your people is my people. Ve'elohechem Elohai, and your God, my God. She stood before the ark, virtually, of course, and acknowledged the sovereignty of the one God and accepted the responsibilities of Jews. Therefore, we, the undersigned, say to her, Achoteinu at, you are our sister. Ukra shimech beIsrael, and your Hebrew name shall be Meira bat Avraham v'Sarah. Meira, for those who have some knowledge of Hebrew grammar, is the hifil form, lehair, which means to bring light. And Meira is the one who is bringing light into the world. And for all of you who know Meira well, she's indeed someone who brings a lot of light. And I'm sorry to say that Australia has got already a lot of light. So I hope at some point you'll come back to us and you carry on spreading your light with us here in sunny, green, and rainy Britain.
I certainly will.
So Craig will be the first witness, and Meira will tell me the name of the next witness as well.
Rebekka Singerman Knight said she'd very happily do it. Thank you, Rebekka.
Brilliant. So I'll bring the certificate next Shabbat to KLS. They will sign it, and then you send me an email with which address you want me to send it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
So page 595. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב ואמותינו שרה רבקה רחל ולאה הוא יברך את אחותינו זאת אשר באה לחסות תחת כנפיו ויקרא שמה בישראל מאירה בת אברהם ושרה. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekka, Rachel and Leah, bless our sister who has come to take refuge under the wings of the Eternal One, and let her name in Israel be Meira, daughter of Abraham and Sarah. Yevarech Adonai v'shmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God reach out to you in tenderness and give you peace. And let us say, Amen. And we all unmute ourselves and say, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yelanu, Yelanu, Yelanu. ולכל ישראל, ילנו, ילנו, ולכל ישראל, ילנו, ילנו, ולכל ישראל, ילנו, ילנו, ולכל ישראל. Mazel Tov, Meira. It's such. Oh, I wish we could hug you. We can hug you virtually online.
Virtual hugs. Thank you.
So now I need to tell you the catch.
I think I know what the catch is.
So the catch is I have contacts with the Home Office in Australia, and they will revoke your residency permit as for tomorrow. Anyway, there are lovely communities in Australia. When you choose one, you let me know, and I will put you in touch with them and write a letter so you can be welcome there as well.
Thank you very much.
So it's such, oh gosh, it's one of the greatest moments. So today we have your admission ceremony. Next week we have a bat mitzvah followed by another bat mitzvah, the twin sisters, Aziz and Firuze. So it's just a series of simcha. It's really, really great. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to celebrate it with you and to be with you in your life today.
Thank you. Thanks for welcoming me. It's a very special moment. Thank you.
So we will stay together at Kiddush, and then people will be able to, now you're part of a tribe. You know how nosy we are, and we want to know everything. So but the only thing I can promise you, it won't be streamed on Facebook. So there won't be any recording.
I'll reveal all then.
Right. So we go back to our prayer book and we go to page 484. Can can I ask, maybe Meira, you can read the first prayer, and Natalia the second, and
The only problem is I don't have the prayer book.
you don't.
Because
Oh yeah, of
back
course,
in
of course.
London.
Yeah, of course, it stayed in London. Okay,
Yeah.
so Natalia, can you read the first prayer on page 484? Then I can ask Brian to read the second, and maybe Jenny to read the third. Okay, page 484. Yes. You don't have your prayer book. It's in this. It's at KLS still. Okay.
Sorry,
Louise.
no, I have the PDF, but it takes a while to get to the page. Can I do the second one?
Yes. Okay. You do the third. Third. I'm going to ask Jenny to do the first, Brian to do the second, and you do the third.
Can you tell me the page? Sorry.
485 for you.
485. Thank you.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts amongst us, and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the states of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Thank you. So next week starts, no, this week actually, because in Jewish terms, we're starting a new week tonight. It's the new month of Tammuz, which is a summer month in the Jewish calendar. So we are going to say the blessings for the month of Tammuz on page 485. Eternal God, Eternal One, our God and God of ancestors, may the new month be for us a time of renewal. Grant to each one of us a long life of peace, welfare, and blessing, a life of prosperity and health, a life guided by conscience, unmarred by self-reproach or shame, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts may be fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Tammuz Hiye B'Yom Revi'i. The new month of Tammuz will start on Thursday. Yechatshenu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleinu Ve'al Kol Amo Beit Yisrael לחיים ולשלום, לששון ולשמחה, לישועה ולנחמה ונאמר Amen. May it be the will of the Holy One ever to be praised, that it brings for us and for the whole house of Israel life and peace, happiness and joy, deliverance and consolation, and let us say Amen. יהללו את שם אדוני כי נשגב שמו לבדו. הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם כרם לעמו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל עם קרובו. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And we are on page 489, 489.
כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזובו. Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. עץ חיים היא, למה חזיקים בה, ותמכך מאושר. דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם, חדש ימינו כקדם.
Thank you, Rebekka, for this wonderful music as always. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Did you know that about 1 in 5 people under 30 have some reluctance towards vaccination? I came across this worrying data when I was listening to a debate between 2 young people on the television. Honestly, I shouldn't have listened to it, but once that you're listening to it. A young woman said she didn't believe that the vaccine was necessary for her age group, and enforcing vaccination was an infringement of her freedom. Her opponent responded that scientific data proved she is wrong, and that getting the vaccine was also a way to protect other people. Then he lost his temper and said that she was, and I quote, stupid and selfish. While I agree with him on what vaccination is probably the best way out for all of us, and I share with him a certain, let's say, impatience towards anti-vax, I couldn't condone his attitude. How can you hope to convince someone if you express such a strong judgment? It's okay to ruffle a few feathers, but personal attack is certainly not the way to hold a proper conversation. So that led me to 3 ideas that I wanted to develop with you today. First, it's true that the younger generations are more likely than older to be on social media, where debates are, let's say, not always very productive, with very personal attacks and quick judgments and short statements. It is a very competitive and very ruthless world. I mean, it's not entirely bad. Let me clarify this. We use social media at KLS, for example, in a very positive way to show what we are. But in other parts of social media, it's a very difficult world. And I think it's a very pretty worrying way of engaging with other people. And I'm wondering, how we don't master social media yet, because it's been on for less than 10 years, and we need some time to really understand how to use it properly. The second thought I had came from this debate is the access to truth and to data. I know that truth is a tricky notion, but in our postmodern world, it has become a very flexible concept that leads to the confusion, to half-truth, or even post-truth, or fake news. I believe that there are still behaviors that are acceptable and others are not. That some data born out of serious study and research are superior to those that come from, let's say, a weak mind who believe that by expressing an opinion, it's true. The third thought is more a question which is rooted in our Torah portion. How do we treat each other? How do we disagree in a proper way with a robust conversation on ideas and concepts, but not on personal ground, on personal attack? I think there is an answer to that in our weekly Torah portion. This week's parsha begins with what our tradition has coined the sin of the spies. And it already says a lot in the words used. Moses, responding to God's command, sends spies or scouts into the land of Canaan to get a clear picture of the land that God gave to them, to see if it's possible to conquer it and how difficult it would be to do so. One scout by tribe is sent into the land, and they all come back except two people. They all come back with very discouraging reports about the inhabitants of Canaan. And remember what I read earlier. The people who live in the land are strong, and the cities are walled and very great. Their advice is to avoid going against these people, for they are stronger than them. Only Joshua and Caleb come back with a more positive report. When they heard the scouts' report, the Israelites weep, complain, and wish they could go back to Egypt. Because of their attitude, God condemns that generation of the desert to die in the wilderness. And as I said earlier, only Joshua and Caleb will be able to see the next step of their journey. Throughout the book of Numbers, Israel complains a lot against its fate and wish they hadn't left Egypt. Last week, I went to Montreal, virtually, of course, sadly, but I gave a shiur there on Numbers 11, which was in last week's Parsha, about an episode that happened in a place called Kibrat HaTa'ava. So what happened there is a general complaint, and we have the same structure, if you want. The people is unhappy. They complain against Moses and Aaron. Moses and Aaron are most of the time speechless. They fall on their face. They don't know how to respond. They turn to God. God sends a plague, a punishment, and Moses sometimes advocates for the people, sometimes not, but then the story is over. So you've got this kind of framework of complaints. We are not happy. We are going against our leaders. The leaders go to God, then God punishes the people. So there's also this passage in Numbers 11 where they complain about the food they had to eat. If only we had meat, they say that, which is very interesting. If only we had meat to eat. And they found the manna, the manna that God has provided for them, they found the manna very boring and they didn't want to eat that. So in last week, to our portion, God gave Moses a solution. He said to Moses, you cannot bear the burden of leadership alone. So he finds 70 elders who would carry the burden of Moses. So that's another way when a situation is very heavy, and it's a very good lesson in leadership that it has to be shared with other people. But it wasn't enough, and God punishes the people again. I think that our tradition is very unkind towards the generation of the desert. It seems when you read the text that they can't do anything right. When they make a mistake, they are punished. It's not a small punishment. Thousands of them are killed. When they rebel, they are also killed. And I think Torah is lacking compassion as far as this generation is concerned. The generation of the desert went through many traumatic events. They had to leave Egypt in haste, a place where they were slaves. They followed a man trusting his words, and even the revelation at Sinai, which is described in the book of Exodus, with all its colors and thunders and noises, etc., must have been a very, very difficult event to process. They wandered through one of the harshest places on earth, a desert, with very little water, very, very little food. And they received so many instructions in all the different laws that are given to them, do this and don't do that, with harsh punishment each time, that it's a lot to take. And the God they worship has often a very bad temper, punishes very quickly, and the demands of them are simply too heavy for them to bear. But I don't want to dismiss Torah altogether. And as you know, the Jewish way of reading Torah is not to follow it blindly, but to react to it. Later in the Talmud and the Midrash, the rabbis of old took a more softening approach. They took Torah as it is because they considered Torah to be God's words, which can't be changed, but they changed the approach to it. They read Torah with their ethical eyes, with their compassion, as if it was a starting point upon which to build our own narrative. Each generation reads Torah with its own eyes. And as Jews, we have the freedom and even the duty to disagree with Torah, even to disagree with God, and to question our tradition. So this being said, I would like to propose something. I would like to propose the Torah of Compassion. Why being so harsh on people who obviously suffered a great deal? And the question for us today is, how do we treat each other? Especially now that we all went through a very difficult time. It was almost like the period of the desert. We were in the wilderness, not for 40 years, God forbid. I mean, it's almost 2 years now. Of course, we need to have a sense of purpose. You need to achieve our life's mission, but it doesn't mean to be ruthless and compassionless with others. Compassion and forgiveness are two human attitudes that elevate us. As the Pirkei Avot, the chapter of the sages, say, do not judge your fellow until you've reached his place. Do not judge your fellow until you've reached his place. So if I had the chance to talk to this young man who said to this woman that she was stupid, I would have said, do not judge her until you've reached her place. Of course, what she said was stupid, but as a person, she wasn't stupid. So when we are in a heated debate, let us not forget that piece of rabbinic wisdom. Do not judge your fellow until you've reached his place or her place. And remember, the person you are talking to is the same as you, a human being with strength, weaknesses, with hopes and sufferings. Ken Yeh Ratzon. Right. Okay. So before we finish our service, I would like just to give you a few news, a few announcements. What's happening, community. So again, let me direct you to the newsletter that Craig prepare every week. It's very comprehensive. You have everything. I just wanted to point a few things. So we have our Hebrew classes. I realized that we have a beginner's class, thanks to Dominic, who is teaching, I think, 2 or 3 groups now. We have a biblical Hebrew class, and we have a Torah lunch class. So we have 3 Hebrew classes now at KLS, and I think it's good because we have a better access to the text or tradition when we know a bit of Hebrew. So next week at 10 a.m. there's Book Crushers Zoom discussion, where the group will discuss Judith by Lawrence Darrell. So next week at 11, not 11:15, but we'll start at 11, we have a Shabbat service with the Bat Mitzvah V'azize Oizirek Ber. and the following week, her twin sister. So you'll see it's really, when you see both of them, it's very hard to see who is who. But, when you get used to them, you know that. So yesterday I spoke about the fact that Liberal Judaism has joined the Religious Alliance for Dignity in Dying. And Craig has put together a very interesting article with sources if you want to have a look at that. And also, we received a wonderful gift on Thursday. So one of our members very kindly donated the money to purchase a new lectern for KLS. So it's on Facebook, so you can see it. So next week we will officially inaugurate it with Sheikh Yanu together. Is it everything? Have I forgotten anything? Okay, so there's nobody shout, so we can go to page 213. Rebekka, can I ask you to read the whole prayer? I need to rest my throat. Yeah, thank you.
And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be ready to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another person's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. Then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
We are now on page 523. Life is finite, like a candle it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, and then it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. Yet we do not despair, for we know that we are more than a flickering flame. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and light, of death and life. And on this Shabbat, we remember Eileen Ingram, remembered by her daughters and friends at KLS and outside KLS. And we also remember Margaret Browse, her grandmother, Louisa Mickelson, who is with us today. I wish you a long life, Louisa. Zichronam livracha, may their memory be a blessing. As we say together the word of the Kaddish on page 524. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ביחתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה. וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל בני אדם, ואמרו אמן. We finish now with Adon Olam on page 525.
Adon Olam Hashem alach, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה, בתפארת להמשילו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא האות והמשרה, ולא האות והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצורף לי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת קורסי ביום אקרא, מנת קורסי ביום אקרא. בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת ישן ואירה, ואם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא, אדוני לי ולא אירא. שבת שלום.
מי ששיכן את שמו בבית הזה, הוא ישכין ביניכם אהבה ואחווה ושלום ורעות. May the one whose presence dwells in this virtual synagogue cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among you. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Eternal God, grant strength to people. Eternal God, bless you people with peace. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So I'm going to invite those who are watching online to join us for the Kiddush to welcome, to give Meira a proper careless welcome now, official welcome, and I'll see you in a moment.